start today. So stack-based CPU organization, whenever I think in data structure, you already know the concept of stack and queue. So in case of computer organization, we need only the concept of stack. Fine. So by now, I think you already have understand that in case of stack, basically we have a few important concepts about stack. The first is LIFO, last in first out, and the second one is you have only two operations. In case of stack, basically you have only two operations, push and pop. Fine, these things are already known to you. Push, that means whenever you want to enter any data into the stack, that operation will be termed as push. And suppose I want to fetch or retrieve any data from the stack, that operation will be termed as pop. Okay. Now there is one more concept in stack, that is SP, stack pointer. Okay. Now I will start writing in the chat box. Previous things are done in the classes, that's why I'm not writing it. Now refer the chat box first. Okay, so stack pointer. So what is stack pointer, SP? So stack pointer basically always, in case of stack, there is only one entry or exit point, isn't it? In case of stack, there is only one entry and exit point. That's why the top of the stack is very important, that location. And that's why we have a stack pointer always. And that stack pointer is basically located top of the stack, isn't it? These concepts are known to you all. First, let me know this. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So because, I should know that whatever I'm saying in a brief way, you are able to understand. That's why I'm asking. So the top of the stack is referred as stack pointer. Now I have told you that we have two operations, push and pop. So whenever we want to push any data, so what do we have to do? SP equals to SP plus 1, isn't it? So basically whenever, suppose the stack, in a stack, suppose I want to push a data, fine. So what I have to do, after pushing the data, also I have to increase the stack pointer, because I have entered a data, that means the location of the stack pointer has changed. Okay, so what we have to do, SP equals to SP plus 1. Same way, suppose I am retrieving or I have fetched one data from the stack. Okay, in that case also, the stack pointer, the location of the stack pointer will be changed. And whenever I want to pop any data, so after popping the data, what will be the stack pointer's location? SP equals to SP minus 1. Okay. So that is the basic concept of stack-based CPU organization. That means in case of whatever we want to do, in case of stack-based CPU organization, we have to use the concept of stack. That means push, pop, and the location of stack pointer. Fine. That is the concept of stack-based CPU organization. Now, in case of, so what are the advantages and disadvantages we have in stack-based CPU organization? For the last all things, that means I have told you about single accumulator-based CPU organization. That means only we have the concept of accumulator over here, nothing else. Only accumulator will be used to perform all the operation. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages we have for this single accumulator based CPU organization? Advantages, one of the operands is always held by accumulator. That means suppose whatever we want to do, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, whatever we want to do, we need at least two operands. Fine. So one operand will be held in memory location and other operand will be always there in the accumulator in case of single accumulator based CPU organization. And that is the advantage, because you have to always search or look for one operand only, because you already know that as it's accumulator based CPU organization, so already other operand is held by accumulator itself. Okay, so you don't have to look or search for it. That is the main advantage of accumulator based CPU organization. And as you are only search for one data, in the memory. So that means the searching time will also be decreased, because in spite of searching two datas or two operands, you are searching for one operand, and other operand is held by accumulator itself. So the time, the searching time will be decreased in this case. That is the advantage. Now what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is basically this single accumulator based CPU organization is meant for doing basic operation like add, ADD, subtraction, SUB, multiplication, MULT, and division, DIV. Okay, only this basic arithmetic operations where two operands are included. For these purposes, we can use single accumulator based CPU organization. Now, whenever we have any complex arithmetic expression where more than two operands are involved, we cannot use single accumulator based CPU organization, because single accumulator based CPU organization is meant for only two operand. One operand will be held by accumulator itself, and the other operand we can fetch from the memory. Okay, because we can't use any external register. So if there is a concept of third operand, we don't have any storage space to store it. Okay, this portion is clear. In case of single accumulator based CPU organization, we have only option for two operand. One operand will be stored in memory location from where we have to fetch it, and the other will be stored in accumulator itself. Okay, so that means suppose we have to do A plus B plus C. In that case, we cannot use single accumulator based CPU organization. We can only use A plus B. Okay, A will be stored in accumulator itself, and B we have to fetch from the memory. So that means whenever we have a complex arithmetic expression involving more than two operands, we cannot use the concept of single accumulator based CPU organization. Fine. Next, we have learned about general register based CPU organization, where basically we can use 2 to 3 registers. Okay, so obviously it will be very helpful if we can use 2 to 3 register, to solve any arithmetic expression. Now, over here also we have advantages and disadvantages. So, what is the advantage? I have told you that we can use 2 to 3, general purpose register. Okay, so it will be easy to evaluate any complex arithmetic expression, because we have the use of numbers of general purpose register. So storing the operand and all the things will be easy. Fine. Now, what is the disadvantage? Now, disadvantage is basically whenever we want to use more number of registers had a cost, so the cost will be increased. Okay, unnecessary, we will occupy the registers for general purpose, general purpose CPU organization. So as we are unnecessary holding registers has a certain cost, so the cost will be increased. Okay, that is the disadvantage. Now, the third, what we have discussed, that is the stack based CPU organization, where we have only the concept of stack. Now, what is the advantage of this? The advantage of this stack-based CPU organization is it's the efficient manner to execute any complex arithmetic expression. Okay, in the class you have studied infix, prefix, and postfix. Yes or no? Yeah. So how we do that? With the use of stack only, na? If you can remember. Suppose we have to convert anything infix to postfix or infix to prefix, whatever we want to do, we use the concept of stack, isn't it? So that means basically with the help of stack, we can easily, and efficiently convert or execute any complex arithmetic expression. Okay, that is the main advantage of using stack-based CPU organization. And as we have stack, so it is very clear that we have only two operations, push and pop. For other, we don't have to think for any other operation, because any other operation doesn't exist in case of stack, in the concept of stack. That's why it's very the execution of instruction is very fast, because we are only doing push and pop. Okay, so that's why I will again discuss infix to postfix, because you have it in computer organization. Very briefly I will discuss, because we already I think you already have done these things in the class, but I will do that on the syllabus as well. So execution of instruction is very fast, because what you have to do, you have to do only push and pop. Other thing doesn't exist. Fine. So that's why it's a very fast process. Now what is the disadvantage? So if you think carefully, whenever the expression, the length of the expression increases, suppose you have a infix, whenever I'm talking about expression, that means basically it's in the infix, isn't it? A plus B plus C. What is the notation of this? Infix, isn't it? So whenever the length of the expression increases, the program size also increases. Think about the stack. So whenever, suppose we are doing only A plus B, okay, so in case of the length of the stack will be less. Suppose we are doing now A plus B into C plus D by E, all the things, then obviously the length, the program length also increases. Okay, that is the disadvantage of stack, because in case of stack, at a time only one thing you can push. Okay, so obviously if the length of the expression increases, the length of the stack based CPU organization program, that means whatever we are doing, postfix or prefix, that also the length will also increase. Okay, now in case of computer organization, basically we need the concept of postfix or postfix operation. Fine, infix to postfix. So that's why we will, in the class, we don't discuss the prefix thing, we only discuss infix to postfix. Okay, so that is the part of arithmetic expression evaluation. So now what we will discuss, arithmetic expression evaluation. So we all know that we have three types of expression: infix, prefix and postfix. In case of infix, what is the concept of infix? In case of infix, the operator is basically placed in between the operands. Okay, like A plus B. Fine, that is your infix. Now what is prefix? In case of prefix, the operator will place first. That means instead of A plus B, we will write plus AB. Okay, and in the last case, that is postfix. In case of postfix, the operator will be placed after the operands. Like instead of A plus B, we will write AB plus. Okay, that is your postfix. Now what we need is the concept of postfix operation. Fine. Yeah, so we will start with some example. Let me share my screen first. Excuse me. The screen is visible now? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So so we will first start with these two infix expression. Okay, this is the prefix one. You can look into this, but basically we will discuss this two, infix to postfix. Okay, so I have already told you that in case of infix, you already know this. So very quickly, in case of infix, the operator is basically placed inside the operands. Okay, so that is the infix. Now, in case of doing infix to postfix or infix to prefix, that means whenever we have to use the stack, there is a there is a way to do that. Okay, there are some priorities, and what are the priorities we have? Parenthesis first parenthesis, whatever parenthesis is there, parenthesis first, isn't it? Then first parenthesis, second parenthesis and third parenthesis. So parenthesis first, Then the exponent operation, that means 2 to the power 2, the power. Then we have multiplication and division, and lastly we have addition and subtraction. Okay, that is the priority wise we will do that. Fine. Now suppose this is the very basic infix expression, we have a plus b. So directly for postfix operation we will do ab plus. How we will do that using stack, I will tell you just after this. And suppose one more infix expression you have is this one, a plus b into multiplication. Okay, now we have more than one operator. Okay, plus and multiplication. So so what you have to do is you have to check the priority. Okay, so I have already told you that multiplication and division will come first, and after that addition and subtraction. So first we will do the multiplication. So b multiplication c, so b into c, so bc into, that is the first thing we will do. After that we have plus. Okay, so that means what we will got, a b c, then multiplication, and after that addition. Okay, that is the thing we will get. How we will get using stack, we will do this. Just let me tell you this one, and then we will go to that portion, that how we will do that using stack. Now over here we have parenthesis, a plus b in the first parenthesis, multiplication c. So we know that parenthesis comes first before multiplication. So that means now we have to do a plus b. Over here we don't have the parenthesis. That's why multiplication have the priority. Okay. Over here, as we have parenthesis, that's why this parenthesis will get the priority over multiplication. So first what we will do, a plus b. So that means ab plus. After that we will do multiplication. That means ab plus c, then multiplication. Okay. These two are different. See, this one and this one. Why it's different? Because we have used the parenthesis. Fine. Now quickly I will tell you that how we will do this using a stack. So basically this is the expression we will do using stack. Okay, so a plus b, we have parenthesis for a plus b, then multiplication c minus d, again c minus d within the parenthesis. So that means in this case first we will look at how the priority flows. So what is the first priority? Parenthesis. Okay, and then next multiplication. Now the addition and subtraction operation are inside the parenthesis. That's why the addition and subtraction operation will get the priority over multiplication. Suppose in any case, if you don't have the concept of parenthesis over here, then multiplication will get the priority, and after that addition, subtraction. Fine. So I think this portion is clear because we already know this. So we can directly go into this one. So we have stack and we have the expression. That means what expression we will get. Okay. Now initially the stack is empty because we don't have any data. Whenever we will start the this expression transfer, that means infix to postfix or infix to prefix, initially the initial condition will be always your stack is empty. Fine. Empty. So as your stack is empty, you don't have any you have to have any postfix expression. Okay, now I have told you that what is your first priority? The parenthesis portion. So that means first this will be entered into the stack. That means push operation will happen. So push this one. See, this one. Now one element have entered into the stack. So as one element you have, so this is the top of the stack, and stack pointer is basically over here. Fine. Still we don't have any postfix expression. This portion is empty. Then what you have? You have no operation because A is operand. Fine. So in case in the stack, what we will enter? In the stack we will enter only the operation. That is parenthesis. Then if you have any power, that means to the power, that power, then multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, all these things will go into the stack, not the operand. Okay, operand will you will write over here. So whenever we will have any operand, we will write down over here in the portion of postfix expression. Okay, postfix expression. So see, this is the expression a plus b within first parenthesis into c minus d again within first parenthesis. So first this starting parenthesis will enter into the stack, then a. Now parenthesis will go into the stack but not a, because a is your operand. Okay, so a will go over here into the postfix expression. Then after a we have a plus. We have a plus, so plus will enter into the stack because plus is operation. Okay, so plus will enter into the stack. Now as plus has entered into the stack, so it will be onto the top. Now the top has changed, that is the top, and in the postfix expression portion we still have a. Okay, now what we have in the first parenthesis, then a, then plus, and after that what we have, a b. Okay, so again b is your operand. Fine, so operand we will not write into the stack, that is the rule. So we will write down b over here. Now whenever we have one expression and after that expression whenever we have an operand, we will fetch this. Okay, we will fetch all the things from the stack. So how it works? First we will have suppose one operand, so that operand we will write down in the postfix expression portion. Okay, after that whatever operation we will have, that operation we will write down into the stack. Now after writing one operation, whenever we get another operand, so we will write down the operand in the expression portion, and whatever we have into the stack we will pop them. So what we have into the stack, one plus sign and one parenthesis. Now parenthesis we never write into the postfix or prefix expression. So what we have plus, so we will pop plus and we will place it over here. See, now again your stack is empty. Fine, so after that we have multiplication and then we have c minus d, and c minus d is on the parenthesis. So that means the parenthesis portion will come first. Okay, so first we will have the multiplication operation because we have a plus b within first parenthesis, then we have multiplication. So multiplication will come into the stack and that will be now your top of the stack. Now after multiplication operation there is one parenthesis, not any operand. Okay, so that means the parenthesis will come into the stack. Don't have any operand, so parenthesis will come into the stack and that will be now become the top of the stack. Fine. Next what we have, after parenthesis we have another operand which is c minus d. We have, if you can remember, that is the expression c minus d. C is operanded, not operation, so we will write down c over here in the expression part. Fine, c. After c what we have, a minus. So minus is operation, so minus will come into the stack, and this portion now, this minus is basically now top of the stack. Okay, now after minus what we have, d. So d is operand, so that means d will not enter into the stack. We have to write down d over here. Now according to the rule, after one operation, whenever we get one operand, we will write down the operand in the expression portion, and whatever we have into the stack we will pop them. Okay, but we don't write the parenthesis portion. So what we will write down, first we will write down minus, that minus will pop, minus, parenthesis we don't write, so that means left with multiplication. So at the end we will write down the multiplication. So what is the postfix expression of a minus b within parenthesis, multiplication c minus d within parenthesis, ab plus cd minus multiplication. Now tell me, is it clear for everyone, specifically the lateral entry student and the stream change student, because other students have done the data structure class? So is it clear? I need to know this. Or any doubt or anything you want to say? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
in fact, Yeah. So this is how we do this one. Now, in case of computer, so what I've told you that we don't have the concept of prefix in case of computer, organization. So prefix notation. What is the name of the prefix notation? That is, Polish notation, and this is reverse Polish notation, RPM. Okay. So basically, in case of computer organization, we have that RPM, postfix expression. So that means in exam, you can expect this as a question. Okay, that is infix to postfix using stack-based CPU organization. Okay, so next what we have subroutines. Let me write you. Subroutines. Now, what is subroutine? Subroutine, that means basically we have a program, suppose, and in that program, suppose we have a part, where our separate memory address is written, and you have to go into that memory location and you have to execute a part of the program. Okay, that will be termed as subroutines. Okay. Now, in case of subroutine, basically we have two instructions. Call, that means you have to call the subroutine, call subroutine, that means you have to call one particular memory address. You have to go to that memory address where the subroutine thing is written. You have to go to that address. Okay, that is your subroutine call and return. Okay, so that means after finishing or after completion whatever we have in the subroutine, then return to the main program. So whenever we have the concept of subroutine, we have two parts, main program and the subroutine. Okay, so in case of main program, there is a address flow, because program, that means whenever we are have a program, so that means program will include some data and instruction. So that means whenever we are executing a program, so basically we are executing some memory addresses, because if you want to fetch any data or address inside the memory location, so that means we need the memory address. So that means execution of a program, that means we are executing some memory locations. So whenever we have the concept of subroutine, suppose there are the main program have a memory address flow. So into the main program, whenever the portion subroutine comes, called subroutine, that means from one memory location you have to jump on to other memory location to get the subroutine. Okay, whatever we have to do in the subroutine, we will get into some other memory location. Okay, that's why call subroutine. That means you have to call that memory address. Fine. And after completion of that subroutine part, again there will be one return return thing. Okay, so return, that means you have to return to the main program's memory location from where we have left for subroutine. Okay, that is the concept of subroutine. Now, in case of subroutine, basically, subroutine are basically meant for doing sorting, searching, these things. Now, again, sort and search, I don't know whether these things have started in your data structure or not, but sort, that means, we have to sort there will be n number of datas and we have to sort that data. Okay, in ascending or descending order, whatever that will be mentioned. But you have to sort. And search, that means again there will be group of elements and you have to search one particular element. Fine. Now, in case of sorting, there are many algorithms for sorting, and for searching also there are two algorithms. Okay, linear search and binary search. So clearly, searching and sorting includes more than one steps. Okay, that means there will be an iterational loop. Okay, so that means subroutine. So whenever we are calling a subroutine, that means it will be executed for a certain number of time, subroutine. Fine. So after execution of certain number of time, that will be returned into the main program. Now, in case of subroutine, how the stack is involved? In case of why I am telling you subroutine, because subroutine also falls under stack-based CPU organization. So now over here, what is the concept of stack over here? So whenever main program is running, stat. So that means the program counter, that is the special purpose register. Program counter will have the data and instruction and address location of that program we are running. Fine. Now, if the call subroutine portion comes, then what we will do, whatever memory location is there in the program counter, that means the memory location from where we have that call subroutine part, that memory location will go into one stack, okay, on one empty stack. That will fall under one empty stack. Fine. Now we will go into that memory location where we have to complete the subroutine thing, and again we have to return. So when we have to return to the main program, we will check the stack. Okay, so in stack the address location is there, so we will fetch that address location and we will return to the main program. Okay, now we can think that why the memory location from where the subroutine call have started, why the memory location we have to store in a stack. Why not we can store it into somewhere else? Now I have told you that program counter. So what is the purpose of program counter, PC? These things I have told you that program counter is basically store some special information about the program which is currently being executed by CPU. Fine. So that means suppose in CPU one program is running, so the next line's address or instruction basically we will store in program counter at advance, so we can go over there. Fine. So whenever one subroutine comes, so stack pointer have one address, so that address, sorry, not stack pointer, program counter. So program counter have one address, that address we will store into the stack. Fine. So whenever the subroutine finishes, we have finishes the execution of the subroutine, we will go and check the address reside into the stack, and we will fetch that address and we will go to the same memory location to continue in the main program. Now, why we have to store that memory location into stack, not in any other general purpose registers? Fine. So suppose instead of one subroutine call, you have more than one subroutine call. So now what is the condition? You have a main program, then you have subroutine 1, and after that you have subroutine 2. And how it flows? That means in main program you have call subroutine 1, and you will go into subroutine 1, you will execute subroutine 1, and within subroutine 1 you have again that call subroutine 2. Okay, so that means within subroutine 1 you have again one subroutine 2. So call subroutine, so you have to go to subroutine 2, you have to finish subroutine 2, then you have to come back where? Subroutine 1. You have to complete subroutine 1, and then you have to come back to main memory. So now what is the concept? LIFO, isn't it? Last in, first out. Main memory, then subroutine 1, then subroutine 2. So that means how you have to complete these things. First we have to complete subroutine 2, then you have to complete subroutine 1, then you have to complete the main memory program. Okay, so this concept is basically fits into stack, isn't it? Main memory, then subroutine 1, then subroutine 2. It fits under the stack. So how we will fetch them? LIFO, last in, first out. So first, what we have to finish? Subroutine 2. So subroutine 2 is on the top of the stack, so we will finish subroutine 2. Then what we have? Subroutine 1, that is the top of the stack, so that means we will finish subroutine 1, and then we can go into the main memory. As stack has this property, that's why we will use stack to store the memory location. So now suppose we have main memory, main program. So in the main program we have call subroutine 1. Okay, so that means the main memories, the main program's address from where the subroutine 1 has been called, that will be stored into the stack. Okay, because after completion of subroutine 1, we have to return to that particular memory address to continue. Fine. Now under so when the subroutine 1 is running, At a point we have called subroutine 2. Okay, so that means we have to stop subroutine 1's subroutine 1, and we have to go into subroutine 2. Now where we have stopped the subroutine 1, that memory address goes where? That memory address will go into the stack. Okay, so that means on the top of the stack, what we have? Subroutine 1's memory address from where we have started subroutine 2. Okay, now subroutine 2. So first we will complete subroutine 2, then we will return into the stack. So what is the top of the stack? Subroutine 1, the address of the subroutine 1. So that will be popped. So now we will return to the subroutine 1. We will complete subroutine 1. After completion of subroutine 1, again we will go back to the stack. What we have into the top of the stack? The main memory, the main program's address from where we have started the subroutine 1. So we will fetch that, or we will pop that, and we will come back to the main program, and we will complete the main program. Okay, that's why whenever we have the concept of subroutine, we have to use the concept of stack-based CPU organization. Is it clear? Because it's a bit dicey, that's why I'm asking. Is it clear to you all that why in case of subroutine call, we will use the concept of stack? If it's not clear, then also you have to tell me, otherwise it's not possible for me to understand. So is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and remaining students, yeah, clear that why we will use the concept of stack. And I will again suggest that whatever I am telling you in the class, please study, so that whenever you will self-study, then only you can understand that what are the doubts you have. Okay, so that you can ask me. Now, okay, as you told me that for now you have understood the things, so we will move on to this portion, instruction length. Instruction length. Okay, so instruction length. So I have told you in instruction length, that means what is the length of your instruction. So length of an instruction basically depends on the number of address field used in it. Okay, that is the main funda of length of instruction. Now again, length of instruction have some advantages and disadvantages. So if you the fewer the address, obviously the shorter will be the length of the instruction. Now in case of complex arithmetic expression, it's not always possible to use fewer addresses. Okay, so obviously if the number of addresses will be increased, the instruction length will also be increased. Fine. So in case of this instruction length, we have 4 categories. Okay, first one is 3 address instruction. Address instruction. Next one is 2 address instruction, then 1 address instruction, and lastly 0 address instruction. Okay, this portion is very important because as colleges are reopening, we are on the verge of reopening again the physical classes. So that means you can expect one physical exam, whatever the type of exam is. This portion is very very favorite to the examiner to put question. Okay, so what we are discussing? We are discussing instruction length. Okay, so instruction length, we have these categories: 3 address instruction length, 2 address instruction length, 1 address instruction length, and 0 address instruction length. Okay, now we will discuss this portion. Let me open one. Okay, so we will discuss this one. So for discussing this, we have one arithmetic expression. Okay, so this one we are talking about. So 3 address. Okay, and what is the expression we are talking about? This is the expression. Okay, so a plus b. Can someone help me that somehow my computer is taking automatic backspace? How I can solve this? Do I have to reinstall something, or can you help me regarding this? See, it's automatically taking backspace. Whenever I have to type something, I have to push that arrow, the forward arrow, and then I have to type something. It's very difficult for me. If anyone can help, please suggest, okay, after the class. So the expression is, let me think. Oh my God. Okay, so what is the, suppose we have one expression, a we have one expression, suppose the expression is a plus b minus c plus d. Okay, now a plus b is also within the first braces, and c plus d is also within the first braces. Okay, so that is what. So what is the expression we have? Suppose the expression we have x equals to, the expression we have, suppose x equals to a plus b within first braces. So a plus b within first braces, and minus c minus d. Okay, within first braces as well. Okay, that is the expression we have. So we have x equals to a plus b, and then what we have minus, and within again first braces we have c plus b. Okay, that is the expression we have. Fine. So this expression we will transfer into 3 address instruction, 2 address instruction, 1 address instruction, and 0 address instruction. Fine. So in case of 3 address instruction, so clearly in case of 3 address instruction, there will be we can use 3 general purpose register. Okay, 3 different addresses, 3 address instructions. So 3 different addresses, 3 different general purpose registers we can use. Fine. So what we can do, so over here also, first preference will be the parenthesis, then the power, then multiplication, division, and after then addition, subtraction. Okay, so what we will do, first we will do add. So first we will do add R1 comma A comma B. Okay, so that is the first. Okay, so what does this line means? Add R1 comma A comma B. That lines basically means that we have to add A and B, and we have to store the result into this register R1. So as basically 3 address instructions, so that means we can use 3 registers. Okay, that's why we are using 3 registers, R1, A and B. Okay, so A, we will basically add A and B, and we will store the register in, we will store into register R1 the result. Okay, next what we have, again one parenthesis we have, and within the parenthesis we are doing C plus D. So that means what we can write, add R2 comma C comma D. Okay, so what this line means? This line means we will add C and D, and we will store the result into R2 register. Okay, and lastly what we have A plus B minus C plus D. So A plus B is storing into R1, and C plus D we have stored into R2. So that means what we can do, we can write sub x comma R1 comma R2. Okay, so that means subtraction in between R1 and R2, and where we can store the result into X. Now R1, R2, X, basically these names. So R1, R2, X, basically these register names I have taken randomly. Okay, you can name, you can change the names. Fine. So again, 3 address instruction. So in case of 3 address instruction, so we can use 3 registers. Okay. So and that is the expression what we are transferring into 3 address, 3 address instruction first. Okay. So how we can do that? First, we will do the job of parenthesis. So what we have, A plus B. Fine. So in case of A plus B, what we will do? So add R1 comma A comma B. So that means we will add the value of A and B, and we will store the result into R1. Next parenthesis we have in between C plus D. So what we will do? Add R2 comma C comma D. That means we will add the value of C and D, and we will store into the registered R2. And lastly, the subtraction operation. So sub X comma R1 and R2. So whatever data we have in R1 and R2, we will subtract and we will store the register into X. Okay, that is your 3 address. Now we will come to the 2 address. We will use the same expression, that means A plus B minus C plus D. Okay, we will use the same expression, and using the same expression, we will now do 2 address instruction. Okay, so 3 address instruction is done. Now we will use 2 address instruction. So in case of 2 address instruction, how we will do that? Load R1 comma A. That means, so 2 address instructions. So that means we can use only 2 registers, two addresses. Fine. So 1 address is the register and 1 address is the, operand one. So in R1 register, first we will store A, because A plus D, that is the first thing we will do. Have to do, add R1 comma B. Add R1 comma B. Okay, so that means we can use 2 registers, 2 addresses. So first load R1 comma A. That means in R1 we will load the value of A, and then add R1 comma B. That means whatever we have in R1, we will add the data with B, and the result will be stored in R1. Okay, so over here, so that means clearly operation, whatever register we will have, that is your destination register. See, that is the destination. We will add A plus B and store the result in R1. So what is the destination register? R1. Over here also, load R1 comma A. That means whatever we will have in A, that will be load into R1. So that means now R1 equals to A. Next, add R1 comma B. That means we will adding the value of R1 and B, and the result will be stored in R1 itself. Fine. So that means A plus B is done. Next, what we have to do? C plus D. So same way, load another register I have to take, because R1 have the value of A plus B. So R2 comma C. So that means whatever we have in C, that will be now stored in R2. So now R2 have the value of C. Fine. Now what I have to do? Add R2 comma D. That means, whatever we have in R2, that will be added with D. That means C plus D. And where we will store the addition result? In R2 itself. Okay. So that means, R2 now have the value of C plus D. So R1 what have? R1 have A plus B, and R2 have C plus D. Okay. Now what we have to do? Subtract of R1 comma R2, isn't it? So that means whatever we have R1 and R2, that will be subtracted R1 minus R2, and where we have to store the result in R1. So now R1 what have? Initially R1 have A, then R1, so initially R1 have A, then R1 have A plus B. Okay. Initially R2 has C, then R2 has C plus D. Okay. So R1 has A plus B, minus C plus D, and where we will store the result in R1 because R1 is the first, that is the destination. Okay, next what we have to do, store. We have to store the result. So store X comma R1. So that means in X we will store the value of R1. What is the value of R1? A plus B minus C plus D. Okay, that is 2 address. We can use 2 address. Now here come to 1 address instruction. So 3 address and 2 address is done. Now we will come to 1 address instruction. So 1 address instruction. So 1 address instruction, that means we have the concept of accumulator. We have only accumulator, no registers. In 3 address instruction, we have 3 registers. In 2 address instruction, we have 2 registers. In 1 address instruction, instead of any other registers, we have accumulator. Accumulator is also one register, special purpose register. Okay, so we have accumulator only. So what we will do? So again, C, C plus what is the expression we have? A plus B minus C plus D. Okay, so but from where we have to start? We have to start with that C plus D. Okay, so first we will do load C. Okay, so load C, that means in accumulator we have C, the data C. Okay, then add B. Okay, add B, that means whatever we have in accumulator, with that we have to add the value of D. So what we have in the accumulator, we have done the load C, so that means in accumulator we have C, and then add D, so that means C plus D now into the accumulator. Okay, next store P. The name of the register, again one random. Okay, store P. So that means whatever we have in the accumulator, now we will store into T. Fine. Then again we will do load A. So that means whatever we have in A, we will store it into the accumulator. Then add B. Add B, that means whatever we have in the accumulator, we will add that with B, and again store the result into accumulator. Okay, you may think that why I haven't do A plus B first. Okay, see, instead of A plus B, I have used C plus D first, because we have a division of subtraction operation. Fine, so that's why I have done the latter thing first and then the initial. Okay, because it's A plus B minus C plus D. So after subtraction we have C plus D. That's why I have done C plus D first, store in T. Okay, now what we will do, sub T. So what we have in accumulator now, A plus B, isn't it? We have this in accumulator. So sub T, that means whatever we have in accumulator, that value will be subtracted by T. What we have in T, C plus D. Okay, so now that is the difference. As you are allowed to do the operation only with the help of accumulator, that's why I have done it in this way. Okay, so sub T, so that means whatever we have in T, that will be subtracted from that will be subtracted by T. Okay, now suppose you are doing A plus B first, and after that you want to do C plus D, then the length of the instruction will be increased. Okay, this one will be increased. This thing you can try at home. Okay, let me explain this first. Okay, if you want to do it in a reverse way, that means A plus B first and then C plus D, and after that you want to do the subtraction operation, the length will be increased. Okay, you can try this at home. Let me complete this portion. So sub T, and lastly store X. So that means the result will be stored as X. So automatically, if you are doing A plus B first, then C minus D, so automatically the length will be increased. Okay, because you have done A plus B first, you will store that value somewhere. Then you have to do C plus D, okay, and again you have to store the value somewhere and load the A plus B into accumulator, okay. So automatically the length of the instruction will be increased. Again, you can try this at home, the opposite one, okay. And the last one, the zero address instruction. So in case of zero address instruction, that is basically stack based CPU organization, okay. So what we have to do, first we have to do push A, that means in accumulator. Now we have A, that is the top of the accumulator. Then what we have to do, push B. Initial was the typo, okay, that will be push. So push A and push B. So now in the stack what we have, A and B, okay. Now add. So whenever we have that add, so that means we will pop A and B and we will do A plus B, fine. Now, so we have popped A plus B, so that means your stack is empty now. So next what we will do, push, sorry, after adding operation, what we have in the stack, A plus B, okay. Now push C, so that means, you know, in the stack we will push C, that is the top of the stack, and push B. Now in the top of the stack what we have, C and D, and then we will again do add. So that means now we will add in the value C and D, okay. So and you know, we will store that result in the stack, and after that sub, that means you know, A plus B minus C plus D, okay, and pop X, that means, sorry, pop X. That means whatever we have in the top of the stack, that will be popped, that is A plus B minus C plus D. Quickly, I will tell you three address here as here. So yeah, so what we want to do, this one, A plus B minus C plus D, okay, three address, that means we can use three addresses. So add R1 comma A comma B, that means you know, we can add A B and store into R1. Next we have C plus D, that means we will add C plus D, we will add them and we will store the result into R2. Then you know what we will do, sub X comma R1 and R2, that means R1 and R2 will be subtracted and we will store the value in X, okay. Now to address, over here we will start to address load R1 comma A, that means in R1 we will load the value of A, add R1 comma B, that means R1 will be added with B and we will store the result in R1 itself. Then load R2 comma C, C will be loaded in R2, add R2 comma D, that means C plus D, sub R1 comma R2, that means you know, whatever we have in R1 and R2, that will be subtracted and the result will be stored in R1. Store X comma R1, that means whatever we have in R1, that will be stored in X, okay. Two address. In one address, that means accumulator based, so we have only the accumulator, load C, that means in accumulator we will you know, load C, that means in accumulator we will load the value of C, add D, that means whatever we have in accumulator, that will be added with D. Store T, that means what we have in accumulator, that will be stored into this location T. Then load A, in accumulator we will load the value of A, add B, whatever we have in accumulator, that will be added with B, and sub T, that means the accumulator value, what we have in accumulator, A plus B, that will be subtracted by T, that means C plus D, and store X, that means whatever now we have in accumulator, that will be stored in X. Next, last, zero address instruction. In case of zero address instruction, only stack will be used. So push A, push B in stack, then add. So you know, pop these two and A plus B, and again you know, enter the value A plus B into the stack. Now push C and D. So C and D will be now into the stack and add. So we will add C and D, and again the value will be added into the, pushed into the stack, and then sub, that means A plus B minus C plus D, okay. Pop X, then we have to pop the value, fine. That is zero address instruction. So I'm I'm giving you one instruction for this. One extension URL, this one. Okay, you can go over here and you can study this one. Acha, tell me, tomorrow 11 to 12 there is a gap. You don't have any classes from 11 to 12? Tomorrow Wednesday. Can you confirm? Sir, can you confirm 11 to 12 you don't have any classes? That is your first class.
No, ma'am, there's a gap.
There is a gap, isn't it? So I will take the class. I will share the link and join. Okay, everyone. I have missed a few classes before the puja vacation. That's why I will take tomorrow's class. But in the exam, you will have up to this. That is today's class. Okay. Whatever I will tell you from tomorrow, that will not come into the class test one. Is it clear for everyone? I will discuss briefly about class test 1 tomorrow because today we don't have any time. So go to the next class. Leave.
Attendance?
So, ma'am.
Yeah, I will take tomorrow. Not the attendance, not an issue. Okay, just I'm already late. Okay, go to the next class.